Chapter 295, A Huge Fortune. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. The price of the storage bracelet has already risen to 100,000 spiritual crystals in such a short span of time. Huang Yanqian could not believe it. Zhang Yuochen was going to make a huge sum of money. It must be noted, as the commandery princess of a superior class commandery, she could only command a fortune of 50,000 spiritual crystals. For a warrior at the heaven realm, this was already a huge fortune. Zhang Yuochen smiled. The rarer the item, the higher the price. Why are you so surprised? Although Zhang Yuochen spoke casually, he himself was indeed quite shocked at the price of the space bracelet. The space ring he had initially sold to Liu Quanshan was only 100,000 silver coins. One of the reasons was that its internal space was only 1 square meter. There was little value to a space so small. Another important reason was that there had been no one competing with him for it. The higher the status of the people competing for the spatial ring, the higher the price. Naturally, this was why Lei Jing had personally written letters inviting all these big shots. His purpose was to sell the spatial rings and bracelets at the best price possible. Every elder present was an important figure in Omen Ridge. For them, 100,000 spiritual crystals was not considered extravagant. 150,000 spiritual crystals. Sima Ming, head of the God Blood School, stood and saluted the other powerful people in the room. The God Blood School must have this space bracelet. I hope my old friends will let me have this one. I promise that I will not be bidding for the following space treasures. My dear Sima, do you really think we can just let you have this one? I also think I must own this spatial bracelet. Why don't you let me have this one, and you can compete for the other ones? As they spoke, the commandery prince of Minxiu bid again. 160,000 spiritual crystals. The space treasures could only be discovered and not sought. There were only 5 in total, and each one that was sold meant there was one less to buy. Who knew how intense the competition would be for the final few pieces? I've heard that people from the black market have mingled their way into the auction house. They want to spend a large amount to buy a space treasure, then resell it for an even higher price on the black market. Such things happen? It is only what I've heard. But space treasures are very rarely seen, and perhaps they will not sell for their true value in Omen Ridge. If they were sold in a superior commandery or in the eastern region, they could probably sell for more. The news that the black market was going to enter into the bidding gradually spread out. All the elders became more nervous and each joined in the bidding of the storage bracelet. Yan Yanhuan also began to bid. On his first bid, he raised the price of the spatial bracelet. 200,000 spiritual crystals. 210,000 spiritual crystals. 220,000 spiritual crystals. Yan Yanhuan raised his sign again and called 300,000 spiritual crystals. Yan Yanhuan had his own plan. The spatial bracelet was more valuable than both the war map and the formation flag. The Yan's family did not lack for either. However, the Yan's family did not have any space treasures. He decided he would buy a spatial ring to take back for his great-grandfather to celebrate his 150th birthday. Yan Yanhuan's great-grandfather was a half-saint. If he was able to garner the support of his great-grandfather, then his position as the heir to the Yan's family would be unquestionable. As long as his great-grandfather was happy, he could spend spiritual crystals as much as he wanted without fear of punishment. If he could buy all the space treasures, that would be best. 300,000 spiritual crystals was a considerable amount of wealth. It had already scared many people away. The only people left in the bidding were Yan Yanhuan, the master of the Yuntai suzerain Han Li, the commandery prince of Minxiu, and the palace master of the Tai King Palace Yi Hui. The Yan's family is clearly a half-saint family. Even a junior from the Yan's family can command 300,000 spiritual crystals. It is impossible to deny their strength. Yi Hui was the first to give up. She decided to watch for now. After all, there were still 4 more space treasures. Han Li also chose to give up and did not raise the price. He shared Yi Hui's line of thought. The commandery prince of Minxiu rather liked the jade bracelet and continued to raise the price. He and Yan Yanhuan engaged in a bitter battle. Finally, Yan Yanhuan successfully bought the first space treasure with 387,000 spiritual crystals. 387,000 spiritual crystals. Going once, 387,000 spiritual crystals. Going twice, 387,000 spiritual crystals. Going 3 times, sold. The jade storage bracelet is sold to bidder number 793. Having bought the jade storage bracelet, Yan Yanhuan let out a long breath. Even his eyebrow lifted. When he looked towards Chen Xie, it was with more pride than usual. It was as if to say, "Did you see that? What is Zhang Yuochen compared to me? I have enough wealth to suppress the important figures in Oman Ridge." That is true power. Yan Yanhuan was not aware that although he had shown off, he had also just disrespected every major player in Oman Ridge. Furthermore, the spatial bracelet he had spent a fortune to buy was worth nothing in Zhang Yuochen's eyes. Most importantly, the spiritual crystals all ended up in Zhang Yuochen's wallet. Yan Yanhuan rode the high of his victory and glanced towards Zhang Yuochen. "Zhang Yuochen, I thought you were going to buy a space treasure for Commandery Princess Yanjun. Why didn't you bid? Are you already out of spiritual crystals?" Zhang Yuochen had already been very nice to him by not purposely raising the price. Who would have thought that he would purposely pick a fight with Zhang Yuochen? He was forcing Zhang Yuochen to take action against him. Zhang Yuochen replied, "Aren't there 4 more space treasures? I will do my best to buy the next one. I hope you will not compete with me." "How can I not? The first spatial bracelet was for my great-grandfather. The second space treasure will be for Sister Xia." Yan Yanhuan tossed his words out casually. Zhang Yuochen asked, "Must we fight until both sides are bloody?" Yan Yanhuan replied, "Nothing can be done about that. After all, this is an auction. The treasures naturally belong to those with more money. Am I right, Sister Xia?" Chen Xie revealed a surprised expression and asked, "You'll really buy the next space treasure for me? But it's so expensive. It is only a few 100,000 spiritual crystals. It is nothing to the Yan's family." Yan Yanhuan spoke with great confidence. Zhang Yuochen shook his head gently. He had never seen such a stupid person. The auction hadn't even begun, and he had already made such promises. How was he going to get himself out of it when the auction for the second space treasure started? Zhang Yuochen did not have to wait long. As the first space treasure was sold, the second was brought onto the auction stage. It was a green jade ring decorated with delicately carved phoenixes. The work was particularly sophisticated and perfect for a woman. Beig Zuling said, "This is a space storage ring. It works the same way as the previous storage bracelet. However, the internal space of the spatial ring is twice as large as the bracelet. It contains a full 24 square meters of space. To be honest, I myself like this storage ring very much. If someone were to buy it and propose to me, I might agree immediately." Seek Singkong's eyes lit up. However, his eyes quickly dimmed again. It was impossible. The space treasure was too expensive and there was no way he could afford it. The previous storage bracelet had sold for 387,000 spiritual crystals. The price of this storage ring would certainly be higher. Perfect. If I can buy this storage ring and give it to Sister Xia, she will probably be grateful enough to marry me. Yan Yanhuan was excited. His gaze grew more determined. The Commandery Prince of Mingxia looked across the VIP auction room at Yi Hui and his eyes glimmered with confidence. He thought, "Senior Sister Apprentice probably likes this spatial ring very much. I must buy it and give it to her." The Commandery Prince of Mingxia and Yi Hui had once been disciples of the Taiking Palace together and they were very close. They were once almost lovers. Unfortunately, a misunderstanding had occurred and the two never ended up together. This old rumor had long been a topic of great interest to the warriors of Oman Ridge. Some said the Commandery Prince had been too much of a playboy in his youth and had many confidants. This had angered Yi Hui and so she rejected him. Some said that Yi Hui's master wanted her to be able to inherit the Taiking Palace, so he had purposely broken the two apart. Rumors ran amok in the world of martial arts and no one really knew what had happened. Regardless, there was one thing that was certain. The Commandery Prince of Mingxia continued to love Yi Hui and if the Taiking Palace ever ran into trouble he would send his army to the rescue at once. The Commandery Prince of Mingxia would have that spatial ring at any cost. Beig Zuling announced, The starting price of this spatial ring is 100,000 spiritual crystals. Each bidding should increase by 1,000 spiritual crystals at least. 110,000 spiritual crystals. 120,000 spiritual crystals. 150,000 spiritual crystals. In just a moment, the price of the spatial ring had risen to 300,000 spiritual crystals. Zhang Yuochen called out a bid or two to keep up the pretense, but seeing that the bidding was quite intense, he stopped temporarily and did not bid any more. Huang Yanshan had long been shocked by the price of the storage items. She secretly communicated to Zhang Yuochen, "You're going to make quite a fortune this time. Shouldn't you share your good fortune?" "No problem. You can pick any item from the auction tonight, and I will buy it for you," Zhang Yuochen said generously. "You said it, not me. I'll take full advantage." Huang Yanshan tipped up her sharp white chin and her neck stretched into a beautiful curve. Although her face was cold, her eyes glimmered with laughter. In the time they'd spoken, the price of the spatial ring had risen to 600,000 spiritual crystals. The last two people bidding were Yan Yanhuan and the Commandery Prince of Mingxiu. Although the spatial ring was precious, there was a limit to its value. Any big shot here who had lived for nearly a century would not lose their minds and bid outside what was rational.